Yo, what's going on, guys? Caleb here, and in today's video, we're going to be diving into our client fulfillment and how we think of client fulfillment. Because a lot of people, I'm telling you right now, when I was scrapping the entire system, we had to start over from scratch and really look at what really brings our clients results. And I took this Google Doc that I'm going to share with you guys and I ran it through the client campaign yesterday when we were creating a new campaign. So we're creating a new campaign for the client. And I said, okay, let me go back to the basics. So I went back to the drawing board. I wrote down all the things that play a factor in us getting our clients' results. And one of the biggest things there's several things, right? There's several things, but let me kind of just line it up on the top so that you guys can kind of see how that plays a factor. But one was having a great offer. That was the biggest thing that I realized. If we leveraged for our clients, then we would have a dramatic effect on everything else that we were supposed to do. So I want you to reflect that question onto yourself is most times than not, and this is why I believe Alex Hormozi, one of the GOATs in our space, came out with his first book, Offers, because he realized how much of a difference that the offer really makes. It makes a dramatic difference, guys. So if you can work on the offer, if you run an agency right now, a lead gen agency or a Facebook ads agency, it doesn't matter. One of the biggest things that you want to do is sit down and look at how you can change the offer for your client. You can see right here, we started from scratch. This was a new campaign and we sent out 1,000 leads. This software is called smartlead.ai. Fully automated, 1,000 leads contacted. We had 8 positive replies. There's still a little bit more that we're tracking, but 8 positive replies so far, right? And that was purely from changing the offer, okay? So I realized one is, what is the offer? Where is that? What category does that fall into, right? And basically the categories that we're breaking down our clients' fulfillment and the way that we go about operation is 3 categories, 3 buckets. So if you want to see these little buckets and then the balls within the buckets, that sounds a little bit weird, but yeah. First bucket being attention. All right, so how are you grabbing the attention of your audience? If you work with MedSpa, this client works with MedSpa. How are we getting in front of MedSpa owners? And then second, how are we having them see our message, but also raise their hand? Because you could have a lot of people see you. I mean, I'm walking through Bali on the Bali streets. Everybody's seeing me. Everyone can see me. But are they actually stopping and seeing, okay, well, this guy looks interesting, right? How do you do that? Right? In the business realm, a lot of that comes down to your offer, right? So what are you offering to the marketplace? Same thing if you're a guy, you're in the dating scene. What do you offer to the girls? What are you offering? What do you bring to the table? Right? That's the very first thing is you need to understand what are you offering to the market, and is it different? That's another thing. Is I see a lot of people they think that just because they are able to do a lot of volume or just because they're able to get in front of the customer, the market, that suddenly is going to change the game for them, but most times, guys, you need to come up with a different offer. The amount of times that, and you can get it from feedback from the prospects, like we'll get messages about the fact that they get texts like this all the time, like 10 emails a day. And if you put yourself in the shoes of the prospect, imagine getting the same email 10 times about, hey, would you be open for us to run, all these Facebook ads and all that? If you do that, then you're not going to be able to stand out. So point being, change your offer and make it enticing. Make it so that's different from everybody else. And try to put yourself in the shoes and imagine yourself. I always try to go top down, right? So as in, I try to exaggerate what they're seeing, right? So if I'm thinking like I'm putting myself in the shoes of them as the niche, as the market, they're getting like 20 emails of us running Facebook ads and doing their marketing. So how can I be, knowing that they're getting 20 emails or putting myself in that situation where they're getting 20 emails, what would make my email stand out? And that's what I do when I'm thinking about when I'm making a cold call, when I'm doing outbound dials, when we're doing outbound DMs or outbound texts or outbound emails. I try to imagine them getting so many of the same messages. And with that as a starting point, how can I differentiate myself? Because a big part of not only getting the attention, but also getting them to be interested is going to be how unique are you? Okay. The second thing and the third thing, really these go hand in hand, is going to be the value and the training. So you could also, one of the best ways to get attention is just to give a lot of value, right? You don't have to be different, right? If you're going to take this angle, you actually don't have to be too different. But the value that you provide, and so to say, like the training that you provide, is going to be the difference. Like that is what's going to convince them to be interested in you, right? Because you're just adding free value. You're just adding value to their life that they wouldn't have had before, right? So those are different ways that you can gather attention. That's one. Now, two, once you have the attention, right? Once you have them raising their hands, they're interested in you, they gave you a positive reply. How are you going to nurture them? How are you going to convert them into becoming a customer, right? And so that's education, right? Nurturing the leads. Very basic stuff. But are you doing this in your campaigns right now? And some people might be doing it, but they might be doing it at a very small scale. What does that look like? It could be just automated text or just getting sent out. But guys, like there needs to be more than that. Whether it be a Facebook group, whether it be a Discord group, there needs to be something where they're constantly getting educated after they got into your ecosystem, right? So give them more trainings, like weekly trainings. Give them a long VSL to watch, right? This is our favorite way to educate a prospect in outbound when we're looking to shorten the timeline from them becoming a lead to them actually converting to a customer. We're looking at how do we do that as soon as possible. And one of the ways that we can do it is we gather the attention and then we immediately give them a VSL. Excuse me. Give them a VSL to watch, the entire VSL. And that VSL is going to nurture them and give them everything they need to just move to the next step. That's what we're trying to do. All right. So usually the process for us is going to be, we gather the attention, right? So let's say like we get a positive response here, right? We get a positive response on email. We immediately send them a VSL or some sort of website or some sort of funnel where they can start to get educated about what we do, right? On top of that, we're doing outbound dials, texting, messaging. And then from there, once they're educated, right? So the prospect has a bit of mind of what they are getting themselves into. They know the offer, right? You got their attention. They're interested. Now they're even more interested after watching the video, and then you convert them. And this is where 99% of agencies go wrong, is they don't focus on converting. It's almost like they go all the way to the very end, and when it really matters, like the point where it really matters, they stop. I honestly don't know why. I don't know why people stop here. It's like, we're here. We're at the finish line. It's almost like you run a marathon, you get to like the last mile, and then you just say, I'm going to give up. So it makes the whole thing, the whole journey, not worth it if you don't finish the race. So the way to finish it, and from my experience, what most agencies need, and if you're running an offer and you're helping people call their leads, it's getting the appointment setters to call the leads that they generate. So you see right here, all the leads that you guys generate here from your offer, from your values, from the training that you're providing, and then all the education that you're doing, all the hot leads. Think about this. There's so many hot leads being built up in your ecosystem. One, you need to make sure it's organized. Two, you need to call these people to make sure that they're being converted over. Because when they're going through the education phase, they're very hot. They're very warm. They're very aware of the value that you're providing to them. And so if you don't have somebody that's just calling to check in and say, hey, John, I saw that you opted into our webinar. I saw that you watched our VSL. Do you have any questions on this, right? If you don't have that, it's just as simple as somebody calling and asking that question. I am telling you, if you insert that, it's going to increase the amount of appointments that you guys get, increase the amount of cash collected, increase the amount of customers that you bring on board, right? So that has been the biggest difference, converting, getting appointment setters to call the leads that you guys have in your attention phase and in your education bucket, convert them over with outbound dials. You need to be proactive, right? All the things I say usually is about how outbound is being proactive. It's being proactive in the way that you're getting new clients, okay? So even though you might be getting inbound leads, what happens when only 20, 30% of the inbound leads actually convert? What happened to the other 70 to 80%? Are you having conversations with them, right? Or could you be doing more? All right, so that's appointment setters, closers, and obviously reoffers will help you convert the leads that you have in your ecosystem, right? So that's a high-level overview of what we do, right? And just to dive into an example of what our product looks like, I'll kind of dive a little bit deeper here, right? Offer, right? So offer, this will affect the number of leads that they're able to produce, right? So I'm looking at what are the different components of our product and what are the most important ones. What we had was offer, volume, education, nurture, convert, and tracking, right? Those are the 5 main important things. And so for your agency as well, I want you to write down, if you were to scrap everything, what are the 5 most important, or just the 3, 4, 5, maybe 2 most important things that if you did would make the biggest difference in their agency? And this is a question I love to ask, is what makes the biggest difference, right? What makes everything else irrelevant? Okay, and so what we came up with was number 1 was the offer, right? If your clients don't have a good offer, there's no way that you're going to be able to produce any sort of great marketing, any great sales, any great movement. And so the number 1 thing is that we need to get a great offer, because this will affect the number of leads that we're able to produce and the overall lead volume that they're able to get for their agency, right? Changing offers every time that it gets saturated, right? So one of the things that we find is that when we are sending out lots of cold emails, it can get saturated, right? Because we're doing high volume. And if we're dealing with a list of 40,000 people, then we can run through that list in, let's say, 20 days. So we need to change up the wording. We need to change up the offers. We need to get creative for us to allow us to get just more leads into our ecosystem, right? And that's the very first part that I was talking to you guys about with attention, right? We're just gathering attention, and we're making sure we're also changing and innovating so that we can continue to get attention, right? And then it comes to volume, right? Which is, once we have the offer, we have the proposition that we're going to give out to the market, we're then going to get that out to our market with volume, right? And volume, what I recommend to most people when they're first starting off, or if you're looking for a more cost-efficient way, is to send out outbound emails, outbound texts, outbound DMs to promote this offer that you have. So you have the offer, you need to promote it and get it in front of the right people. And you can do that through outbound in a very cost-efficient way. Or you can run paid ads, right? You can, and you can run paid ads, and that can play a factor. And all of this to get attention, to get the right people to raise their hands. And we want them, all we want in this phase is we have an offer, we have the market, we give them the offer, we want to get raised hands, and that's the only thing that we want. We just want them to express interest in learning more, not buy our services. We just want to know who's interested, right? Because I can work with that. I can't work with crickets. I can't work with no one being interested, right? Even if they're not going to buy, I just need to see if you're interested, right? And I need to be able to have a way to organize if they are interested, right? So that I can do my follow-up. Then from there, if they're interested, I want to properly educate them and nurture them so that they understand, and I can get them in the same kind of same wavelength and belief system. Because from there, once they're on that same page, they're on my side, we're on the same page, I can then convert them over to becoming a client, right? So education, nurture, like what values do I want to instill in them? What do they have to believe? What traits do they have to have? Give them insane value, as well as show them how to get results on what they want, right? So, you want to get 20 appointments for your dental practice next week, right? This is how we do it. This is why it hasn't worked in the past. And this is why it would work now, right? So you need to educate them to their end result. You need to give that to them, right? And actually show them. That's the education part. Now, once they're bought in and they actually see that you provided value, and they can see that you're capable and you're credible enough to get them to where they want to go, that's what gets people to take action, right? Humans take action based off of what they want, what they desire, what their future self looks like. And so if they believe, and a lot of it for them, if we're in the B2B space, we're dealing with business owners, they want to grow their business. That's the end result, right? They want to grow their business. And so if they see you capable of you being able to grow a business like theirs in whatever niche they are in, that's going to allow them to, whatever your call to action is, they're going to take it. But if they don't have that belief that you are that person, then they're not going to do that. And how do you do that? How do you make sure that they believe that you are the person? Give them value. You need to educate them. You need to nurture them. But you can't educate them and nurture them if you don't have enough people to educate and nurture. And that's where volume comes in. And you can't do enough volume and have people express interest if you don't have a great offer. All right, so you see how this kind of plays a factor. So offer, volume, education, nurture. Then the last two things are going to be convert, right? So you could be educating a lot of people, nurturing a lot of people. It's almost like, if I were to come up with some example, like a school, right? A school. And let's say like the school system has a great way to upsell, right? They have like, let's say you have like 50 people in a class, and every day the teacher's just nurturing, educating. And every day these kids are just learning. And if they don't come up with an upsell, this is terrible. This is a terrible example. But you see, like they're so warm, like they're getting educated all the time. And what if it was like, okay, well, boom, upsell, right? So we need to educate, convert, but you can't convert if you don't start the conversations, right? And the way to start the conversations, from what I found as the most effective way, is go into the pool of people that you're educating and nurturing. All right. So for us, it's like a CRM, and go high level. You can look at all the contacts and look at and strategize and sit down and think about how you can reach out to these prospects. Most times than not, the best way is going to be doing outbound dials. Calling them, calling every lead. And the overall goal is to increase the lead to conversion ratio, right? That basically means from lead to closing, how many of your leads are converting over? That's the most important metric, I believe, in the front end of the business, right? Is how it basically shows you how efficient your marketing and sales process is, right? The amount of leads that you are getting to the amount of people that you're closing out of those leads is a very important ratio that you want to keep track of for your clients as well, right? For your own business and for your clients. And this comes from just, like I said, building up the volume and dialing leads and getting that number way, way higher. When I asked myself the question, when I was building out an outbound dialing department, the question was, what is the one thing if I did in the outbound dialing department that if we did, everything else would be irrelevant? And the answer was, well, if we made 20,000 dials in the next week, I'm pretty sure the amount of money that we would make it would be irrelevant, because the input is just so high. It's just so high. It's just so impossible not to get any other results if I do 20,000 dials. And so you kind of work backwards and you focus on, well, that's the main thing. So let's focus on building the infrastructure, getting the team that's required and the human labor that's required to hit 20,000 dials. You see that those questions will be very different because the intention was different, but because you asked the right questions and you had the right focus. And the last thing, of course, is tracking all the data and your numbers, right? So a big thing for us is that if we don't track numbers, if we don't track appointments, if we don't track closing rate, if we don't track week-to-week percentages, if we don't track the differences between the two, how we did last month compared to this month, we're not going to be able to catch trends. We're not going to be able to understand what we're doing well, what we're doing bad, what to improve on, what to continue to do. There's all those different variables. That's what's going to allow us to maintain the ship, right? This is maintaining the ship and making sure that we're heading the right direction. If we're headed away from the direction that we're wanting to go in, being able to course correct, go back on path, go back on track, and being able to stay the course. All right, so that's how we're really breaking down fulfillment. I hope this video helped. I know it was a pretty long video, but this is really high level overview how we're diving into fulfillment. Now, if you run an agency and you want to learn this entire system, or you want to pay us per show call, right? That's an offer that we're doing right now. There's no setup fee, no hidden fees, no craziness. You just pay us per result because we're confident in what we do. All we ask is that you have a great offer, like I said here. Really, that you have the things that I just talked about in this video, and that you're open to doing these things, and that you have a high enough LTV. If you do, there should be a link down here below to go ahead and book a call. If not, totally fine. I hope this helped, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.